Kia ora and welcome back to Creative Curiosity. I'm your host. My name is Te Honu Tuna. Today I wanted to talk about the different roles on a film set. So if you've listened to the podcast before, you would have heard my last episode talking about my first film experience. And I've only had one experience, so this is just me talking about how the different roles interacted with each other, the sort of jobs that they did on this one movie that I was a part of making. So, and this is also my input from watching countless interviews with different filmmakers, watching behind the scenes footage, so on and so forth. So first off, with a movie, the first person in the whole process is a writer. It's a writer. So they write a screenplay. A screenplay is exactly that. It's a play or writing a story to be filmed as a movie. And after that, they usually get a producer. And there are different types of producers. I'm not 100% on all the little roles that producers play, but I'll try and keep it as simple as I can. And a producer, I know the main role that they have, or one of the main roles that they have, is talking with the writer as well as the director. I'll talk about the director soon, and figuring out how to make this screenplay come to life. And that's figuring out all the different people to hire, what's your budget, how to use that budget, which areas of the budget need to be allocated to certain creative aspects of creating the film. You have executive producers who, to my understanding, are the people who get funding for making a film. We'll come to director as well. Director, in this film, our director, he was also the writer of the film, and his role is making the story come to life, having that vision for how to make the story happen, and communicating that vision with the right heads of departments and also with the actors, which is when we were on set, it was the main role that we saw him doing, was talking with actors, making sure that the right emotions, the right feelings that those characters needed to convey were coming through, so that us as an audience can see and understand the story the way that the director wants it to be understood. He also talks with all the heads of departments, and it's kind of like if you think of a company, you have a CEO and then you have different heads, and then it comes down, waters down. So the director doesn't have to talk to these people with very, very specific tasks down here. The info gets relayed throughout the chain of command. Let's put it that way. You then have a first AD or a first assistant director, and the first assistant director's job is pretty much communicating between the creative people and the technical people. So he talks with like the creative people, like the DOP, who I'll talk about soon, with the director, and then he gathers all the things that they need to be done, and then he talks to all the technical roles like safety, this, that, and the other, to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And he's also, in our case, he's also the person, or she, or they're also the person that usually make sure that everyone on set is ready to roll, making sure everybody's quiet, and then they usually say action as well in this movie. So just keep that in mind, that everything I'm going to be saying is just from this one experience that I've had. I'm sure that there are a million ways to skin a cat. And so that's first AD. You then have DOP, which stands for Director of Photography. Another name is Cinematographer. And they are responsible for lighting, grips department, and camera department. And so pretty much in a nutshell, they're responsible for the image that we see. Everything in the image that we see as the viewer is thought out, is on purpose, so that the story can be conveyed the way that the director would like it to be conveyed. Yeah, so that's pretty much a DOP's role. So that it's a huge responsibility, making sure that you're not just there to make beautiful images. You're there to make the images that serve the story best. Whether that be desaturating color, saturating color, having bright poppy lighting setups, or having natural light, all of this. And I mentioned the lighting and grip department. So lighting, the head of the lighting department is called a gaffer. I don't know exactly why they're called a gaffer, but the head of the lighting department is called the gaffer. So usually the DOP will talk to the gaffer and say, oh, can we get these lights over there, or we're going to try and do this to the light to create this certain look. And then the gaffer will talk to their workers. Usually under them is the best boy, and then they communicate to them, all right, we need this light, let's get some flags, let's get some cutters, whatever else. There's all of these things with different names that help shape the light, help direct the light, help increase intensity, decrease it, this, that, and the other. So that's pretty much the lighting department. And they also are responsible, or in our case, they're responsible for generators on set, because a lot of locations that we went to, there were no power, that we wouldn't have access to power. So the generators were our power. So for charging batteries, for any department that needed batteries charging, for if we were shooting at night, making sure that the lights were on and everybody could see what they needed to see. So that's lighting department. And then the other department that's very closely related to camera as well is grips department. And the grips department are pretty much responsible for any rigging to do with the camera, really. And they also have grips, that's the name of the people who work in the grips department, who help carry cameras, who help camera operators to make their job easier. It's really, I don't know how to word it perfectly, but they're really there to make sure that the camera can get where the camera needs to get, whether that be rigging on the side of a car, on the front of a car. A lot of times in our movie, our grips were there to assist with holding cameras, transporting cameras, because they're quite heavy. Like the camera that we used is small in relation to a lot of other cinema cameras, but when it's rigged up, it's quite heavy. So I can only imagine how heavy a fully rigged up big cinema camera would be. So the head of that department is called the key grip, and then under them you have a best boy as well, or best girl, I think. I haven't heard the term, so I'm not too sure, and I'm very, very new to this. And then under them, then you have grips. And a lot of the stuff that they had was really, really cool. Very clever how they can mount cameras to random ass places. And I asked a lot of questions as well while I was on set, just to help learn about the process. Then you have camera department. The head is the DOP, director of photography, and then after them comes the camera operators, depending on how many cameras you're using. Our movie, we used 2 cameras. I understand a lot of movies, they usually just use one. So you'll have a camera operator. Sometimes the DOP is the camera operator. And the camera operator is literally that, is the person who operates the camera. And then after them is the first AC, which stands for First Assistant Camera. And their main job is to pull focus. With cinema cameras and cinema lenses, they don't have autofocus. Because it's such a creative pursuit, you don't want your camera to want to figure out where you want the focus to be. So instead, you have actual people focusing where the director wants it to be focusing. And they do that with all sorts of machines. In our case, they had wireless follow focus devices. I don't even know what they're actually called. But it's a very, very tough job. They have to, in our case, with a lot of sequences that we shot, they didn't have much, or they couldn't really prep as much as I'm sure a lot of people have done with a lot of rehearsals and things. So it was a lot of focusing by eye, being really, really, really good first assistant cameras, and it was amazing to watch actually. And I've done it before once on a small project, and I've just got a very small idea of how hard it actually is. So that's the first AC. That's their main job. They also are usually responsible for building cameras, so for rigging it all up, for changing the lens. Those are their main jobs. And then after them, second AC, which is one of the roles that I had for B camera, which is the second camera, and that stands for Second Assistant Camera. One of my main jobs as a second AC was doing the clapper board, which is the board you have at the start of a take, and you would have seen it if you've seen behind the scenes footage. Everyone's seen it, but you have the clapper board, and then you say a lot of info like 31 take 2, and then they say, well, the first AC will say marker or market, and then you'll clap it, and that's for post-production, for editing, just so that editors know to sync this up with the sound of that clap as well, and also so they know what scene they're looking at. That's why I said all that info at the start. And those numbers that I said, 32 take 1, 32 is the scene, take 1 is the take, and that's usually what you say. And on the board you have info like the production, so the name of the movie or whatever it is you're shooting. You have the director's name, the DOP's name, you have the date, you have the scene number, the take number, the roll, which is, in this day and age, a lot of things are digital. It's like a memory, like the memory card that you have. The first memory card that you use and the first thing that you shoot on will be roll 1. And depending on if you're A camera or whatever, it'll say A0001 for roll 1 of A camera. And then once you've used that one, put another one in, roll 2, roll 3, so on and so forth, all the way to the end of the production. And you also have the lens, the T-stop. I won't go into that, it's too much detail. All of this information on this clapperboard. Also responsible for writing all of that camera information on a camera sheet. So that's for post-production as well, for editors and for data wranglers, which are people who back up all that data that we've shot to make sure that it's all organized for the editor after the whole shoot is finished. Another one of my jobs was making sure all batteries were charged, really making the first AC and the camera operator's jobs easier, making sure that everything they needed was close by, knowing where everything is, so when you get asked for something, you can quickly go get it, give it to them. Also a big strength of a good second AC is anticipating, seeing how your first AC and camera operators work and understanding their go-to equipment. So it's already there before they even ask, or as soon as they ask, it's in their hand. And one of the biggest most important things on set, other than safety, is speed. Because you have all of these people working together, and everybody has a certain amount of time that they work and are getting paid for, and a minute over that supposed finish or wrap time is extra pay for all of those people. So speed is very, very important on set. So that's camera. The next I'll go to will be art department. So art department is responsible for the sets. A lot of times the props and things that the actors interact with, and I take my head off to the art department because it's amazing the stuff they do. And from what I saw, they were pretty much split into two groups. There was a group who would set up a set in a different location the day before or 2 days before, so that when we got there on the day of shooting, the whole set is already ready. The location is ready for us to shoot, so they don't have to do any more prep by the time we get there to shoot. And then the second part of that group are the art department, who are always there on set. So they're making sure that whatever the scene is that you're shooting, everything that's in the background, props wise, decoration wise, is exactly where it needs to be. And if things get shifted between takes, they have photo references to make sure that things get put where they are. If a picture frame on the wall got moved, they know, and they put it back to where it's supposed to be. If things get broken, they replace it. It was amazing. It was amazing just to see the things that they do. So that's the art department. You then have costume. Costume is self-explanatory. They create the costumes for the various actors and extras and whoever else. And depending on the roles, will determine how many different costumes they have and how many sets of each costume each actor has. So for instance, an actor who's in a main role, and let's say they're dressed in plumber's uniform, they'll have three, maybe, like, this is just for argument's sake, 3 versions or 3 exact replicas of that same plumber's uniform. So if they get wet, if they get dirty while they were eating lunch for some reason, they've got an exact copy of that same uniform, so that when you're shooting, you don't know that they're wearing a different thing. So that's costume, wardrobe, let's say wardrobe. And then you have makeup, which is exactly that, makeup. And one of the things that was cool on set was just before doing a take, they did a thing which was called finals, not just makeup but also costume as well. And finals is final checks. So they'll go check out an actor, make sure their hair is how it's supposed to be, making sure they've, their makeup is right and whatever else, and in the costume department making sure their costume's done right. And they'll do it between every take, and it was amazing to watch because you never know, you're never watching the actor all of the time, and they may have just brushed their hair a certain way, and the hair and makeup know how they're supposed to look. They also have tablets on them or phones on them with photo references of how the actor is supposed to look, and it was cool to watch. You then have, I forgot audio, which is close to camera. Audio is that in our movie we had 2 audio technicians. We had one person who had the audio device that was plugged into the microphones, and they're in charge of making sure that the audio is coming through clearly, making sure all the levels are correct, so that a person who's speaking quietly can be heard, and a person who's yelling, their levels are brought down, and the other person who was working with the audio, this person was they're the person who helped mic up actors, as well as holding a boom mic, which is a microphone that's on a pole, and they hold on to it so that it can pick up extra audio. And then really what they're trying to do is pick up the best audio possible, usually from 2 sources at least. They usually have a mic on them as an actor, and then they'll have another mic on set just out of frame. And yeah, that's audio. They also do a thing called time code, which helps synchronize the video with the audio, because cinema cameras don't record audio. And then I think, yeah, those are the main departments. You have you have safety officers, and they talk to us every morning to make sure that we know where everything is, where first aid kits are. In our case, because of the COVID-19 stuff, they were the ones who were going around making sure that everybody had scanned in with the COVID Tracer app. If we were in areas where we needed to wear high visibility vests, they were the ones who provided them. They were the ones who informed us of where evacuation meetups are, different hazards to look out for. And everybody on set has radio, and we have a radio mic in our ear, so we can communicate with each other easier without having to just yell at each other. You have locations, which are people who set up unit base. And unit base is pretty much our hub wherever we're shooting. So that's where everyone parks, that's where all the trailers are for the actors, that's where the food craft services, that's the kai, that's where they are. That's where camera trucks are, where grips trucks are, lighting trucks are, everything. Unit base is the base for everything. And locations, people sort that out. They're the unsung heroes. They work before everybody gets there and after everybody has gone home. They're responsible for transporting all of the production vehicles to the next locations, so on and so forth. And our locations people were amazing. You also have craft services, which is what I said. They pretty much do all the catering, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever time of the day you're shooting at. Snacks, they always have food out, so if you want to snack throughout the day, there's always food there. Always delicious as well. And they do coffees, drinks, all of this. There are heaps of other little roles as well. These are just the main ones that are on set. The data wrangler, the other name is DIT. I don't even know what that stands for. Probably data intelligence technician. No, I don't know. But they're responsible for backing up all the footage. I think that's most of the roles that are on the production. And then post-production, you have an editor who's responsible for chopping all of that footage up, putting it in order with the director to make sure that it tells the story that they want to tell, that the director wants to tell. And then you have other post-production people as well, colorists, making sure that the color is all right for every single frame. You have sound guys, a film scorer who's responsible for the music and atmosphere and everything else that makes the movie sound as amazing as the images are. And I'm sure there are other roles that I'm missing. These are just the ones that I can think of. Stunties. You have stunt coordinators. We had some stunts on our movie. Crazy to see the stuff that they do. The dangers that they put themselves into, but because they're professionals and they know how to do all of this dangerous stuff safely, you know that they're going to be okay. And they're the ones who usually drive vehicles fast. Anything dangerous that actors don't want to do, stunt people do it. You have extras, which are background people. They're not characters that are, that have speaking roles or anything, but they're extras to help fill the world in whatever way the director wants them to. I'm sure there are some roles that I've missed, but I'll just leave it at that. This is just a basic rundown of the different roles on a movie set. Hope you fellas enjoyed this episode. My name is Te Haunui Tuna. This is Creative Curiosity. I'll see you fellas in the next one. Mauri ora.